just to start very simple. When Ryan comes to you with this idea, what's your reaction? Was like, it's gonna be too complicated, time travel and everything?
Well, Ryan and I have been talking about this story for years. He actually first started telling me the idea for it not long after we finished shooting Brick together. So that's almost 10 years ago. And we've been having conversations since then. And so my expectations were very high, and they were met. I think it's a brilliant idea and a brilliant story. And yeah, I love it.
It's what it did in Brick is we can find it here. I mean, it is a complicated story. It is a complex world, and it is there's a lot of layers to it. But then again, you're in it. You're like you don't care. You're caught in the action, in the characters, and everything.
Yeah.
Did that translate at first on script? Did that translate like right away?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I love a movie that's really entertaining and really fun, but also gives you something to think about if you feel like thinking. You know, I remember when Inception came out. A lot of the interviews that we would do, people would start off by saying, "Are you worried that audiences will find this movie confusing?" And I would always say, "No, I'm not. I'm not actually worried about that at all. I think audiences want to think. They want to be challenged. They don't want just the same old thing that they've seen 100 times." And Ryan and Chris Nolan have a lot in common. They're different. They're different guys, and they make different movies, but they both make movies that challenge the audience. They're not willing to talk down to their audience. They respect their audience, and they're making movies that they themselves would really like to see.
You said that you were talking about this movie for 10 years with Ryan. When did Bruce Willis came into play? When did you think of him as older you?
Yeah, well, when Bruce liked the script and agreed to do the movie, it was a huge victory for us. And in fact, that's when we finally, secured our financing and were able to make the movie, because he's such a great actor and such a legend. And, I was just delighted.
There is the pivotal scene, the scene in the diner where you talk with Bruce, which is like the center of the movie and changing the movie completely. You knew that it was a very important scene. How is it on set when you have such a essential scene to shoot?
It's exciting. Bruce and I rehearsed all weekend, and it was a long weekend because we were shooting in, just outside New Orleans, and it was Mardi Gras weekend. That weekend before we shot the diner scene, and neither Bruce nor I went to Mardi Gras at all, but we just worked all weekend on that scene, Ryan and Bruce and I. And, that is the crux of Looper, is what would you say to your future self or to your past self if you could meet them and have that conversation. And the diner scene is where it happens.
And it's sort of risky to change a movie in the middle of it. Is it also a big difference for the actors? Do you come into another movie, or is it, how's the feeling?
Well, I feel like it's just a part of the way the story evolves. It's not just a one-note movie of like, okay, here's a bunch of action over and over again. It's Looper, even though it is a thrill ride, at its heart it's a drama that's about some very profound human questions. And the movie needs to evolve in order to really have a deep dive into those questions.
You were quoting Inception. It seems that sci-fi is the only genre where you could do like smart and complicated and still action and everything. Is it like the last frontier of cinema? Is it something like that?
Well, I think there'll always be new and innovative ways to come up with different approaches to how to talk about the basic human condition, for sure. And but yeah, science fiction is a beautiful genre in that way. It serves as a springboard. You can dramatize things that don't happen in real life, because in real life you couldn't have the same man, one the younger self and one the older self, sit across a table from each other and have a conversation. But in science fiction you can do that.
Tell me about the Emily part. How did you work on that? Is it a really different approach for you?
I just think Emily is so good in the movie. My favorite performances are always the actors who transform who play a character that's very different from themselves. And Emily, you know, she's this sophisticated young British lady. In Looper, she's, you know, lives out on a farm in Kansas and wields a shotgun like a badass, you know what I mean? And it's so great to see somebody change themselves so much.
We were talking about the references with Ryan. There's a lot. K-Dick, and I can see Akira or some other mangas. Does that come into play when you're working on the character?
Yeah, absolutely. I always am, you know, taking inspiration from different things, and it is a genre movie that's, you know, very much carrying on a tradition of science fiction and time travel. But it's also a mixture of so many other things. I think there's, you know, elements of a Western, there's elements of film noir, and there's also, it really is very much a Rian Johnson movie. So, you know, for me, who's a fan of his first two movies, Looper is different, and it's more grounded and less stylized than Brick or The Brothers Bloom, but you can still very much feel that it's one of his, and I enjoy that through line.
One very last thing, we talked about directing at the point, I remember. Is that coming?
Yeah, I did it. I wrote a script. It's called Don John's Addiction, and we shot it a few months ago, and now we're editing it. And Scarlett Johansson is in it. I wrote the part for her, and she liked the script so much she decided to do it, which is a real honor for me. And Julianne Moore is in it, who's also fantastic in the film, and I can't wait for you to see it.
30 years from now, the mob will control time travel. My job is to eliminate targets sent here from the future.
時光旅行淪為殺人滅口通道。追殺未來
You let him run free.
I'm gonna fix this! I'm gonna find it! 拯救現在
I'm gonna take everything you got!
兩個我只能活一個。蝙蝠俠夜神起義，祖瑟夫哥頓利域。時空獵殺，9月27日交會對殺。